the impact, that's for sure. But we survived, and we are here together, and hopefully stronger than ever. Let us now sing our national anthem together in unison. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in our land. With roaring hearts we sing, our true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on for thee. Thy dear land, glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand unproud for thee. Oh Canada, we stand unproud for thee. Hoo-ah! I sure missed you all. It's good to be here again as we continue to stand up for freedoms in all forms. To believe Canada has the greatest potentials as a Western democracy is an understatement of major proportions. In considering our attributes, we discover qualities necessary to establish governance, adherence to rule of law, a clean and healthy environment for well over a century. Our nation stood as a model of quality living, then something went wrong. Our government made a decision to sell our country to the world. Canada began to morph away from true democracy and towards an authoritarian condition. The greatest driver of the transition was COVID pandemic, and more than any other factor has served as a catalyst for a decline in personal freedoms for all Canadians. Canada in 2022, a nation that works for other nations. Our country today functions as a Salvation Army nation of the world. One in which our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has decided for Canadians that non-Canadians are our country's top priority. Our country exists to serve the troubled peoples of our planet. The fate for actual Canadians being entirely secondary. Trudeau's job is to facilitate a transition of Canada from democracy to socialist state. Justin Trudeau became national leader for the purpose of fulfilling a mission set before him by international forces like the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization. Mr. Trudeau's job is to facilitate an incremental transition of Canada from a Western democracy to a socialist state. The goal is to facilitate a political environment in which one day it will make no sense for Canada to continue as a democracy. Regardless of your political affiliation, Canadians are aware that something within our society is seriously amiss. Call it a gut feeling, a premonition, and nagging at the back of your mind. Each day, Canadians are subjected to the government's woke globalist hustle. Those who push back are branded racists, bigots, xenophobes, homophobes, and whatever else they want to throw at you. Like being called a Chad, for example, like I was, by Antifa. I think it was to me, but I can't be sure. The culmination of the conversation project began with the installation of Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister in 2015. Since that time, observant Canadians have witnessed a multifaceted degeneration of the fundamentals of democracy. From social discord via Trudeau's racism accusations to economic erosion through debt and deficit, our current Prime Minister has sacrificed Canadian identity on the altar of woke, liberal, globalist politics. Justin Trudeau has a sadistic streak, and he enjoys squeezing the life out of a once free and democratic society. The illusion that our nation nation is a functioning democracy, not only has Team Trudeau transitioned Canada to a neo-communist society, the federal government itself has morphed into an emulation of the socialist dictatorship. Canada finds itself with a de facto federal government dedicated to woke globalist ideology. Call it the liberal communist occupational government. The goal is government for life, as it exists in the communist nations that Justin Trudeau so much admires. Many assume that Trudeau was just joking when he said he admired Chinese communism dictatorship the most, or when he praised communist Fidel Castro,
aka maybe his dad.
Now, with Trudeau planning a massive reshaping of the nation to massively expand government, cripple the economy, and drown us in debt, Trudeau's agenda increasingly lines up with that of communist states. But the truth increasingly is revealed. Trudeau has hijacked the liberal brand, hollowed it out from within, and repurposed it to push an agenda that moves Canada into a communist direction. If we're truly honest with ourselves, we can realize that Trudeau is someone who actually opposes democracy and private initiative. Justin Trudeau is a hard gun for the transformation of Canada from democracy to dictatorship. Around the world, critics have come to Trudeau with accusations of varying degrees. Members of European Parliament brand him a dictator. Media in the United States consider him a tyrant. The UK press call him a communist. Under the ironclad rule of Justin Trudeau, our country is well down the path towards conversion to an authoritarian state. Within authoritarian societies, government's pursuit of control of its citizenship is top priority. The very moment Trudeau felt the crisis gave him more power, he sought to cripple Parliament, expand his centralized power, and now he seeks to move the radical far left and remake Canada, something nobody voted for and nobody asked for. Justin Trudeau is fundamentally transforming Canada to resemble specifically what they call the social credit system. Through this method of control, previously existing rights, thus exemplified by Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms, are controlled. All for the good of the public, of course. It's nothing short of communist-inspired bid for transition from healthy democracy to authoritarian state, as found in China, the country which he truly admires the most. Canadian society is being manipulated into transference away from a liberal democracy and into a liberal dictatorship. Is there any element within society that Trudeau and his liberals will not leverage to twist Canada into a condition no citizen ever asked for? The answer is no. We speak of fundamentals of authoritarian governance. Every aspect of society is substance for the communist indoctrination mill. In 2022, Canada is being pushed towards replication of communist nations Trudeau most admires. In a time of widespread disagreement and ever-increasing division, there remains a bitter solidarity among Canadians in the belief that the government does not know what it's doing, with most believing that the country is not headed in the right direction and that the Prime Minister is not governing well. Canada is not broken. Canada's institutions are broken. Until we have an institution that can speak on behalf of the regions, we are going to have a problem. At each moment when your rights are reduced and government power expands, the establishment wants you to ignore the context and direction of events. Disturbingly, the more the government amasses unaccountable power, the more they seek to stop us from criticizing them. With Bill, used to be C-10, now C-11, the Liberals are in effect creating a speech czar that will determine what we can and cannot see online. Canada's politicians have shown that when given the choice between expanding their power or defending your rights, they will pick expanding their power every time. They are pushing ahead with legislation that will put a digital safety commissioner in charge of what content Canadians can access. In 2022, Trudeau is pushing Canada towards replication of Chinese society, internet censorship, and emulation of Chinese Great Internet Firewall is on the horizon as we speak. With the launching of a national digital ID, our country is moving towards a replication of China's social credit system, which today is a staple of Chinese society. The foundation of our country is under attack. Society is being systematically weakened under the quasi-communist rule of Justin Trudeau, and our historical identity being erased as we speak. Canada is a nation seduced by government, media, and academia to surrender itself to the forces of globalism. Subtle, covert, and tactic, the ultimate of socialist mythology, for the purpose of stealing a nation from its people and morphing the country into a pseudo-dictatorship. The result is full societal inversion. Mr. Trudeau wants his postmodern Canada, and he is doing everything he can to bring the agenda to fruition. That's his agenda, not that of the general population. His degree of zealousness verging on sociopathic status. Our great country, Canada, has been hijacked from its rightful owners, the Canadian people. It's the law of the land that, in a democracy, a government of the people, for the people, should govern for the greatest good of the greatest numbers, as outlined in Laws of Government, Legal Foundations of Canadian Democracy. We are moving towards a future in which the state is the center of everything. We must stand up against this and support independent voices who represent the true spirit of freedom that Canada is built upon. We must ensure that freedom prevails. We must reverse this anti-freedom trend, or the soul of Canada will be irrevocably lost. They know that the more people move on, the more scrutiny governments will face for their power grab. But they are so addicted to that power and so desperate to use fear to reshape society that they won't give it up until they are defeated and deprived of power by the Canadian people. The only way to get back to normal is to reclaim normal and not let governments dangle freedom in front of us. Our education system must install a stronger sense of patriotism and respect for Canadians' history in young people, rather than the guilt-ridden approach that only seems to demonize Canadians' history and acts as if Canadian values don't even exist. Canada was founded upon the ideas of Western civilization, including individual rights and freedom of expression. Remember the words of Ronald Reagan. Freedom is a fragile thing and is never more than one generation away from extinction. Those who have known freedom, then lost it, have never known it again. Being tracked and traced is the rise of the digital beast. Don't trade convenience for freedom. Digital ID and central banking currencies are on the road to enslavement. All of the other means of identifying and tracking subjects, digital ID poses perhaps the gravest technological threat to individual liberty yet conceived. Say no to digital ID will stop the social credit system, thereby no digital currency. We need cash. And without digital ID, digital currency cannot be introduced or launched. Cash is king. Use it or lose it. Remember, cash is still the ultimate form of privacy and freedom. We should use it in every transaction as much as possible. We must continue to oppose this liberal NDP communist occupational government and maintain our fight and continue to say no and not comply. We must continue to be united in non-compliance against this government. So what do we say?